Great Scott! Great Scott! Great Scott!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fabulous edition of Great Scott. I'm Scotty V, and thanks for watching. So, out of all the people in the world, out of everyone that has had an attachment to Superman in some way, out of everybody that has had, blah, 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 some creative input on Superman over the years, would you have thought, I know I wouldn't have, that it would be David Goyer that would be the one who gets it, especially since most people blame him for turning Superman into a man who runs around snapping people's necks. I totally disagree with that assessment. Now, obviously, he is a man that has snapped another man's neck, but albeit another Superman's neck, who was going to destroy the world and first kill him if he had the opportunity, and then go on to each and every single human. He would obviously go to Martha Kent and torture her and kill her, and then he would go to Lois and torture her and kill her, and anybody that he thought meant anything to Kal-El. And then he would, because he, of course, blamed Superman in the Man of Steel movie for killing his friends, killing his partners, and killing all of the Krypton in its current state. The idea that he would have been able to, without Clark's interference, reanimate all of Krypton and rebirth the Kryptonian race, and Superman stopped him from being able to do that, not to mention killing Faora and all the other people, or not killing, sending them to the Phantom Zone, which I don't believe is necessarily a death sentence. I think the idea of the Phantom Zone is that the criminals are there and are still alive, but are trapped there forever, which I guess in a lot of people's eyes, if you were one of the criminals, you would figure that that was a death sentence. And I guess technically it's not living, even though you're still alive. But what do I mean by Goyer gets it? What I mean is, recently at a press conference, an Associated Press conference in I think France, David Goyer said that in a fight between Batman, he was asked who would win in a fight between Batman and Superman, if that is in fact what they're going for in the next movie. Who would win in a fight? Who does he think would win in a fight? And of course, everyone can just say, well, it was in London. It was an Associated Press conference in London. Of course, this is just his opinion. As I said, the Batman fans out there could say, well, this is just Goyer saying whatever he wants to say. I mean, why is his opinion any more valid than anybody else's? And the truth is that lots of comic book creators have created situations where Batman has held his own in fights against Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Superman, and all the other powered heroes. But what Goyer said, most comic book purists would say Batman would be the winner because he's the ultimate strategist. That's what you always hear. Batman would win hands down. He's smarter. He's got so many gadgets. He's got every move planned out ahead. He's like the ultimate chess player, where no matter how well thought out you think you are, he's always one well thought or more ahead of you. So he continued to say, even though it makes no sense whatsoever, if Superman just flicked his finger, Batman would be done for. Of course, we Superman fans have said this kind of thing all the time. And Goyer wrote an entire trilogy of Batman movies. So is he a Superman fan? Is he a Batman fan? Or is he just somebody that logically has a sensible statement to make, and that is that it makes no sense because there's just no way that it could happen? It doesn't matter how planned out you are, unless Superman is a complete dolt, a stone that sits there with no thought whatsoever. Even if Batman had 98 plans in place, Superman could just burn him from orbit, could just throw a little stone at him and put it through his skull. Okay, Superman doesn't kill, so Superman's not going to do what's necessary to put Batman down. And if he doesn't put Batman down, Batman's going to keep coming and keep coming and keep coming. What I say is, every time Batman comes, you push him back down. Every time he comes, you flick him back down. Every time he comes, you breathe and he falls over. Not because you have bad breath, but so I like that a person involved in making another Superman movie at least understands that, and he's making the Superman movie which has Batman involved, that everyone is calling Batman versus Superman. And of course that's not necessarily the title, but that's what people are going by when they talk about it at this point. But the good thing in my mind, even though we now know we have Batman involved, which may be a negative, is that he at least needs to understand that it can't come down to a battle between Superman and Batman, because it just makes no sense. And he finishes by saying you'll just have to watch the film when it comes out in a year and a half to actually see what happens. And that goes to the whole speculation argument that we've been having. Everybody has this idea of what it's going to be, or has this negative thought of what it's going to be, or is very pessimistic of what it's going to be. Or some people, probably Batman fans, are optimistic of the idea that Batman's finally going to put Superman down, which actually hasn't really happened in the comics. When he does get the upper hand in some situations, it's very extreme circumstances, and usually by the end he ends up in a situation where if Superman had gone all out, he would have killed him or something along those lines. But you know, the other thing he was talking about is how no matter what these fans picketing and all that stuff are doing, as a writer, as someone creating a movie, you can't be overly influenced by what the fans have to say. And I like that statement too, although I do want to see a movie that kind of adheres to these characters, and this character in particular, Superman, and doesn't go too far out there. So while I understand you're not just going to say, well, we got to rewrite it because the fans that are complaining aren't happy, just like the Dark Knight trilogy that I didn't like, I get flack for all the time, but if they would change it to please me, I do think just as many or more fans would be pleased. But it was the highest grossing superhero franchise, I guess, of all time collectively, and it was very well received mostly the world over. And even though I didn't like it, it was one version. You know, I like the Michael Keaton Batman movie better. That was my version that I appreciated better. And I also like the recent Batman Year One animated series. I actually like that as the best Batman film I've seen, period, animated or otherwise. But that's what I like, and that's okay. But those are all different versions. Some of them have similarities. Some of them you might say, oh, it's exactly the same. Some of them are very different. But you know, each interpretation is written and directed and created by the writers and directors and creators that are involved with that creation, and they can't word for word copy something else. I mean, they could, but in a lot of ways it can be seen as why bother if you're just going to do, you know, when they did Psycho with Vince Vaughn and they just remade the movie shot for shot, even though I enjoyed it as a more kind of modern setting, it's almost not worth doing if you're just going to copy it and not put your own spin on it. Now, I have been an advocate many times of saying creators shouldn't be so selfish and just be like, well, I don't care so much about the character, I just want to go out there and put my name on history and put my story on history and put my spin on the character to make it mine. It's not yours. It's a character that was created and is in the public consciousness, and we kind of have feelings about and are attached to in one way or another. So you shouldn't be that way about it either, but I do understand the idea of the creative team behind whatever project is being made. They're the ones who are going to make it the way they make it, and taking into account, you know, some of what the character is and the type of universe and world he comes from while you're making it makes sense, but trying to cater to every single complaint or every single group, or making sure that people don't write to President Obama because Batman's going to be in the movie is just kind of there's just no way you can create in that fashion, and there's no way anything would ever get done, because no one's ever going to be 100% satisfied during the making of a movie 2 years up to it before it comes out. Every little thing that comes out is going to get one group or another up in arms about something. So I like that Goyer gets going. I like that Goyer gets it. I like that he's the writer involved in this Batman-Superman crossover thing. And as worried as some of us may be at what that's going to be, at least it sounds like as a writer, Goyer knows that it makes no sense to even ask the question who would win between Superman and Batman. Thanks for watching, everybody, and remember, I have bat shark repellent in my pants.